Hi everyone, and welcome to Friday. You're listening to Chucky Beats, hardest trap drop of 2019, according to Chucky Beats. The eagle-eyed amongst you will already be saying, hey, that bass drum note's not in there. Well spotted. Okay, cool. That's enough of that. Well, I mean, like for the video, but also just in general. Okay, cool. Welcome to my session on trap beats. And yeah, well, welcome to my session on trap beats. Okay, cool. The flat 2 was on the 1. I don't know if that illusion or that kind of feature of that music was intentional. I guess it was. That's cool. Oh no, nerd fight area skills are coming in, and we're supposed to be doing trap, which is not for nerds. It's for, oh man. Okay, so I'm not an expert in trap because I don't like it and I don't listen to it. Or I am an expert in trap because I really understand it well. You could probably blend both of those two things together. Anyway, this is a lesson I'm doing, and this is a lesson I want to do. Interestingly for me, in music, usually the sum of the parts is greater than the kind of individual components. But in trap music, that's the reverse for me. The individual components are fantastic, and the sum of the parts for me is not good, and that's really ironic, you know. That's how some kind of like classes can be, isn't it? You know, we can relate that to a lesson in K257. The sum of the parts is not necessarily as great as the individual elements. I think that's true, and what we're aiming for, of course, is to make the whole better than any one individual element. In a class, in a team. Okay, cool. So I've got a mantra here for trap: slow 4/4 plus 16th note beat plus 32nd note rolls plus 64th note rolls equals trap beat. And I believe that to be true. I have done a little bit of research, and when I say I don't know anything about trap because I don't listen to it, it's kind of hard to avoid. And I listen to a lot of hip hop, and there's a huge amount of crossover between current hip hop, so like Travis Scott. His kind of beats sound like kind of trap-esque. Even some of Kendrick's do. Sorry, Kendrick Lamar. Although Kendrick, he's definitely just Kendrick. Like Coltrane, Train. Okay, so I'll try and play this groove now. It's not easy, but I'll give it a go. Oh man, it's really hard. Okay, something like that. Apologies for the dodginess in my playing. Obviously programmed, that's going to have much more kind of about it. Good. This book, let me just talk quickly about this book. This is the 5th edition of the History of Western Classical Music. It's a book that I used when I was a music student, or a book that I'm using now whilst I still am a student of music. But it makes a brilliant trap, kind of dry, kind of trap hi-hat sound or snare drum sound. Which is clear for these demonstrative purposes. Okay, 16th notes. Now lots of you know loads about that. We've got 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. And that's the basic premise of a trap beat. Slow 4/4, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and Okay? So that makes good sense. And the snare drum is going to be on 2 and 4, although there is some interesting variation around that in trap music. The kick's probably going to be on the 1. Sometimes it's heavy if it's not. For example, you could have that pattern but on the 1. But if you've got a big drop, I think, you know, that's a pretty solid kind of like trap bass, if you like. Okay, so those are the 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... Okay, because we've got 4 lots of 4. 16 in the bar of 4/4. Now, for 30-second note rolls, if you like, and rolls is the operative word here, especially when we're thinking about drums, because they start to sound like drum rolls. 30-second notes just means instead of 16 notes in a bar, we get 32. So we've got 4 notes in a crotchet beat, and 4 of those, which equals 16. We're going to have 8 notes. So rather than 1 E and a, we're going to have 1 E and a. 1 E and a. Sorry, that's hard to say and play. 1 E and a. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, etc., etc. Okay? Okay, so something like that. Those are all in 30-second notes, 8 notes per crotchet. But in hip hop or in trap, it's very, very commonplace to go up to 64th notes. So we just divide the 32. Sorry, my voice is so croaky. 30-second notes become 64th notes, so we get 16 in a crotchet beat, which is really hard to play all of. When you're a human, which I think I am, easy to program in. So I'm going to demonstrate this as best I can. So we've got, at this speed, at the speed of the song that I played at the beginning, we had 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 16s. That's 32s. So 64ths would be... or something like that. I don't even know if I got that quite right. I don't think I did. But essentially, if I'm doing 30-second notes, I mean, I actually can't play that at that speed. I can do it in a small amount, but that might be a bit of a saving grace actually, because I only need to do it in a small amount. So here, on the and of 1, I've got my 30-second note, da 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 da, 1 E, and then the double on the and, da 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 da, 2 E and is just clear, and then you get 4 notes on the 3. You know, if it's that note speed, but just 4 of them, and it sounds like it's so quick. So if I put that back in, I'm not demonstrating that really well. If I use the sticks, maybe that helps. Yeah, I should have just used sticks. So that was 16 notes per crotchet beat. Good. And that principle is really important. Now in trap, what you should explore is keeping lots of space in the kick drum groove and the snare drum groove, and explore with the hi-hat. Now, one important thing for me as a musician, and something I just want to talk about now, is improvising and being creative. If I was going to make a trap beat, which I'm about to do, I want to be able to do it in my way, not in someone else's way. I don't really want to imitate. I appreciate that can be an important part of learning and a teaching kind of practice and a learning practice. But I really want to kind of jam. So here are some thoughts. I'm just going to remove that, and I'm just going to play a little beat to try and explore some of those things. And then I've got one more demo to show you, which will make sense and lead nicely into the next class. I'll try and do these first two classes of the day linked. Okay, so let's play around with trap. I got some sounds. I got like a dry sound there. Got the tambourine, dry hats, and kind of my gunshot snare. Something like that. It's a really bad example. Maybe I'll try another one another time. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. It's really slow. All of that is in the realms of something like that. Okay, and to close, I'll try and contextualize that another way. So I'm going to play along with the track here, and this will make a lot more sense in the next video.
That's trap music all day long.
Okay, that's Shaun Martin. Now, if he says it's trap, it's trap. Okay, I hope that makes sense.
I guarantee you.
See you in the next video.
Played trap on this sound.
On that book, ever before. True story, probably. Okay, see ya. Ciao.
That is absolutely.